Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Umang's Systemic Functional Linguistics series. My name is Charan, by the way. Umang asked for my help to deliver this material because he cannot record today. So, in this video, we will talk about rank scale, another key concept in systemic functional linguistics, or SFL. This topic provides a crucial foundation for you to analyze text based on SFL. Also, Umang said that this topic may be the last topic for, the core concepts of SFL.
Well, as usual, let's take a look at the outline to see what the video will cover. As you can see, we will cover two main topics, the rank scale itself and rank shift. Regarding the rank scale, we will see how, what we call it, oh yes, the grammatical units or the building blocks of language work to create a text. The order of the list here doesn't match the order of the discussion because I see in the slides we will begin with the morpheme, but I think it is okay. So, because there are lots of things to cover, let's get started.
Let's understand what the term rank scale means. So as we can see here, the term rank refers to the unit or level of the language or text. We call it a unit when we refer to a particular rank, like word, while we call it a rank when we talk about the relationship between units. It is so because we will say that, for example, a word is lower in rank compared to a group, and so on. We can also see that each unit at one rank, like a group, is made up of units from the lower rank, no skipping. Umang may mean that we can only make a clause by starting with the morpheme and then word. Yeah, it makes sense because a word is made up of one or more morphemes, and it is impossible that a group has no word. Okay? It can also be seen here that a clause is semantically the basic full unit of meaning in the text, as Umang discussed in the previous videos. However, when we talk about a clause as a grammatical unit, it is the largest one. When a text is analyzed using SFL, the analysis occurs at the clause level. Therefore, a long text like, let's say, an essay, must be divided into clauses before the analysis. Well, the picture here can be understood easily, right? From below, we start with the morpheme and go up to word, group, and clause. Clause simplex means one clause, while clause complex means more than one clause.
The lowest unit in rank is morpheme. I think you are familiar with this term, especially when you learn syntax, right? So this term is from the Greek word morphe, which can be translated into English as form. So morphemes form a word. Moving forward, morphemes can be free or bound. A morpheme is called free if it is meaningful in its own, like the word part. While in the word partly, the suffix li is called a bound morpheme because its meaning depends on the free morpheme where it is attached. Okay? Bound morphemes are usually used as affixes. Umang gives no example here, but we can make one. The word unlocked, for example, has the word lock as the base word. Then the morpheme un is the prefix because it is positioned before the base word, and the morpheme d is called a suffix because it is positioned after the base word. Together they form the word unlocked. About infix, I have no example currently in mind, so I think you can find some in a dictionary. Sorry for that. Well, what about the word the? It is a free morpheme, but it has no meaning on its own. Also, the words party and student, are they one morpheme words? I hope that Umang gives the answer here. But I think the word the has no meaning on its own because it is not a content word but a function word. So it has no meaning, but it has a function, right? Also, the word party is not a combination of part and y, so it is a free morpheme. Meanwhile, the word student has two elements actually. This word has study as the base word and "ant" as the suffix. Believe me.
A word is made up of one or more morphemes. We have seen this in the previous slide, right? Furthermore, words in a language can be divided into two main categories: lexical, or content words, and grammatical, or function words. In the lexical words category, we have nouns, main verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. These are what we call word classes. Okay? Meanwhile, in the grammatical words category, we have articles, or determiners, auxiliary verbs, prepositions, conjunctions, and pronouns. Words can also be classified in terms of their complexity. We have simple words, which are made up of only a single free morpheme, like book, run, and v. Look, because the word the is a determiner, or a grammatical word, it has no meaning on its own. Then we have complex words, which are made up of a combination of affixes and a base word, like the word teacher and happily. We also have compound words, which are made up of a combination of multiple free morphemes, like the word blackboard and toothpaste. I mean, the words black and board are free morphemes, just like the words tooth and paste, okay? Finally, we have derivative words. Derivative words are words derived from another word class. The word beautiful is an adjective, but the base word is the word beauty, which is a noun. The change includes affixation, as you can see, where the suffix full is put at the end of the base word. Okay? I hope that is clear.
The next rank, after the word, is this group or phrase. A phrase is a term in grammar referring to a language unit that is made up of one or more words. But in SFL, Halliday uses the term group because not all groups are phrases, while all prepositional phrases include a group. So the term phrase is only used for a prepositional phrase in SFL, okay? Umang provides an example here. The classroom is a nominal group, while in the classroom is a prepositional phrase in which the nominal group is present. What does that mean? I see. A prepositional phrase always has more than one word, but a group can be made up of only a single word. Think of the word silence, which can also be a nominal group. We can have a prepositional phrase like in silence, right? Okay, let me simplify this. A prepositional phrase needs more than one word. It needs a lexical word as the group, because a preposition is a grammatical word which has no meaning on its own. Okay, now let's see the 5 main types of groups in SFL. This will clarify the terms like nominal group. I know we've used the term, but we haven't said what the term means. So we have a nominal group, which refers to people or things, like the young teacher. You need to understand that the word nominal means noun, okay? A group name is based on the class of the head word. The head is the word that tells us what the group or phrase is about. So because the group, the young teacher, is about the teacher, and because the word teacher is a noun, the group is called a nominal group. Then we have a verbal group, which expresses process or actions, like has been teaching or just teaches. You will understand the term process later, by the way. Then we have an adjectival group, which we use to describe the quality of a thing, like very interesting. When you describe a beautiful girl or a handsome guy, you will use this group, like Oh, she is beautiful. Okay, the next is an adverbial group describing manner, time, or degree. All of these are what in SFL are called circumstances in which a process occurs. Okay, think of a process as a verb, whatever it is. So if the verbal group is explains, then an adverbial group carefully can describe this process, like the young teacher explains the material carefully. Finally, we can add a prepositional phrase, which indicates the relationship between the process and the circumstance of location, time, and so on. For example, the clause, the young teacher explains the material in the classroom today carefully. We have added in the classroom today to describe the location and time where the young teacher explains the material.
Okay, so Umang wants me to talk about each group now. Thank you, boss. Let's look at the nominal group, which expands a noun, the head, you remember, with additional elements. The general structure of a nominal group is, as you can see, wait, I need to tell you that the elements in the parentheses are optional, okay? Simply because a group can be made up of one word, and when this happens, the one word must be the head of the group. In a nominal group, the thing, the noun word, is the obligatory element. But when you want to add other elements, you need to use the structure as presented here. First, the deictic element functions to point out which thing you are telling. Deictic can be an article, a determiner, or a pronoun. In English, we have the articles a and an, and we have determiners like the, this, that, those, and these, okay? Pronouns like my and your are also deictic. This element must come first before the thing. Then, after the deictic, we can add numerative. I think the right term is numerator, which mentions the number or quantity of the thing. Then the numerator is followed by the epithet, which gives quality or opinions about the thing. Umang mentions a classifier as an optional element of a nominal group, but he does not say anything about it, so I will briefly explain it to you. So a classifier specifies the kind or type of the thing, okay? For example, in the nominal group language teacher, the word language specifies the kind of teacher. All of these elements come before the thing, and the order is just like that. Also, you need to know the difference between an epithet and a classifier. An epithet describes the quality or your opinion about the thing, while a classifier categorizes or classifies the thing objectively, as the term suggests. After the thing, you can only add one element, the qualifier, to add more information to the nominal group. The qualifier can be a prepositional phrase or even a clause. Now, let's take a look at the example here, but I will add a classifier to the example, okay? So we have a clause, those three intelligent young language teachers from Japan. As you can see, the words intelligent and young function as epithets because they reflect our subjective opinions of those teachers. However, the word language is not an opinion, but is a classification of the teachers. Let's say they are not physics teachers, but language teachers. Eventually, the prepositional phrase from Japan is the qualifier. You can use a clause like whom I met at the airport as a qualifier too. So you will have those three intelligent young language teachers whom I met at the airport as a nominal group. Okay, the most important thing to remember is this. Regardless of how many optional elements you want to add to the nominal group, make sure that you do not mess up the structure, okay? Well, I think it is a lot. Oh, where is my coffee?
Let's talk about the verbal group. This is the core of a clause, okay? Meaning that a clause must have at least one verbal group because it is the head of the clause. I think I have to explain what the term
process means here. So the term process means anything that a verb is saying. It can be actions, sayings, happenings, or goings on. All of these are called processes in SFL, especially in terms of ideational metafunction. I saw that Umang has discussed metafunction before, right? So, as with the nominal group, a verbal group also has its generic structure. As you can see here, the verb is the obligatory element and is positioned at the end of the structure. Before the verb, you can add a finite or modal operator or some auxiliaries. It is said here that the finite expresses the tense, while the modal operator expresses the modality. I think modality deserves a separate video because it covers a broad dimension of interpersonal meaning, okay? I see the example here is too complex, so I will use a simpler example, okay? Think of this clause. I will write the report tomorrow. In this clause, will write is the verbal group. The word will is the finite modal verb, okay? So understand this. What we mean by finite is anything about a verb that is influenced by tense and numbers. It is clear that the tense is present in my example. Meanwhile, Umang's example seems to combine multiple tenses, but they work just like my example. All right, let's continue to the adjectival and adverbial groups. All right, so the reason why we have adjectival and adverbial groups on one slide is that they share similar optional elements, although they have different functions. An adjectival group functions to describe a nominal group. It can be an attribute, epithet, or complement. Meanwhile, an adverbial group functions to describe the circumstance or adjunct in a clause. As you can see, both have the same optional elements, including degree and qualifier. Think of a degree as an intensifier, okay? Like, for example, the word very or too in the clause, she is very beautiful, or she is too beautiful for you. They are degrees. They can change the intensity of the adjective. Imagine that a girl tells you this. You are less handsome. The word less is a degree as well. But if the clause is you are not handsome, the word not is not a degree, okay? It is a total negation. Okay, so a degree is a pre-modifier because it comes before the head word. Meanwhile, a qualifier, just like in the nominal group, comes after the head word, so it is called a post-modifier. Well, these terms also apply to other groups. I think enough for these groups, right? So we can continue to the next group. This is not about group, but phrase, the prepositional phrase. It is written here that a prepositional phrase is simpler than groups in terms of internal organization, but powerful in expressing circumstantial meaning. It is basically an extension of a preposition. Okay, so in SFL, especially in the ideational metafunction, the term circumstance refers to the elements in the clause that describe the location of place and time. Yes, time is also a location in SFL. Manner, cause, accompaniment, matter, and role. The general structure is clear, right? It begins with a preposition and is then followed by the complement. Well, the complement can be a nominal group, but can also be a clause or another phrase or group. Umang provides us with some examples here. Okay, so the examples show us that a prepositional phrase can be simple or complex, but we do not have sufficient information here. But I can explain this to you. So, if you look at the first example, you see that the complement, which is a nominal group, only consists of a deictic and the thing, like the classroom, okay? But the second example is complex because it also contains the epithet great. In other words, when the complement of the prepositional phrase goes beyond the thing or has other elements like epithet, classifier, and qualifier, then it is a complex prepositional phrase. Meanwhile, when it consists only of a deictic and the thing, it is a simple phrase. All right, we also have a clause as the complement here. In the prepositional phrase, after she arrived,
the preposition here is after, right? And it is followed by a clause. She arrived. Now, you can also see that place, cause, and accompaniments are types of circumstance. Accompaniment means what accompanies you in doing something. Okay? I think these examples are clear by now, so let's jump to the clause.
Oh wait, I don't see any examples here. Perhaps Umang wants to explain this in the clause analysis in the later videos, hopefully. So what do we have here? Okay, so it is said here that the clause is the largest grammatical unit in which all three metafunctions operate simultaneously. So if you haven't watched the video about metafunction, you need to check it out. Here, we are only provided with the generic structure of the clause for each metafunction. In terms of ideational metafunction, we can see here that the obligaments are the participant and the process. A participant is typically a nominal group, but what is it? Okay, so a participant is like either people or thing, which is related to the process or the verb. So it is like the subject or the subject matter or the object of the clause. So when you said that Sharon is delivering the material, both Sharon and the material are the participants, okay? Meanwhile, as we have discussed previously, the circumstance is the circumstance where the process takes place. There are many types of circumstances in SFL which need to be elaborated in a separate video. Then, in terms of interpersonal metafunction, the structure of a clause is like what you can see. Just remember that the elements in parentheses are optional, depending on what you're going to say in the clause. It is also said here that the obligatory elements, the subject and the finite, form the mood block. All right? So the mood block is the element in the clause that describes the type of interaction, whether it is a question, statement, an offer, or a command. They are the basic speech functions in SFL. Okay? And the rest is called residue, which is rarely analyzed in terms of interpersonal metafunction. Also, if you still remember what I said earlier, the finite can also be a modal verb, okay? And if a modal verb exists in the mood block, the interaction also expresses modality. All right, let's continue. Eventually, because the textual metafunction is concerned with the way the message is organized, it has the structure like that you can see. It begins with the theme, which is the point of departure for the message, and is followed by the reme of the clause. The reme is telling us about the theme. I know that examples will help, but I believe that describing clauses in terms of metafunctions is a complex task. Therefore, we need separate videos in the future to see them. Okay, now let's continue to the clause complex. All right. So a clause complex is basically a sentence, okay? But it must be a sentence with multiple clauses, because a sentence can also consist of a single clause, and that can confuse the difference between a clause and a sentence in terms of rank. So SFL uses the term clause complex. It is said here that clause complexes, or maybe a complex clause, are made up of more than one clause to create larger meanings in text through taxes and logical semantic relations. Taxes is the grammatical relationship between clauses, including parataxis and hypotaxis. Parataxis refers to a clause complex where two equal clauses, like both are main clauses, are joined. Meanwhile, hypotaxis is a combination of clauses of unequal status, where one is a main clause and another is a subordinate clause. You can see the examples here, right? Then, regarding the logical semantic relation, we have a projection clause and an expansion clause. A projection clause is like when you say what you or someone else is thinking or saying. So in the example, she said that she liked it. The second clause is called a projected clause, meaning that it projects the content of the first clause. Okay? Meanwhile, an expansion refers to a clause that expands the meaning of another clause, whether by elaborating it, extending it, or enhancing it. The example Umang gives us here is where the second clause extends the first one. We know that it extends the clause instead of elaborating or enhancing it, where it refers to another action or process, okay? Meanwhile, when the clause explains the same process, it can be either an elaboration or an enhancement. Now, let's finish this by looking at the rank shift.
Oh, finally, the last slide. Okay, so a rank shift means a unit from a higher rank, like a clause, functions within a unit from a lower rank, like a group, in a clause. We can see here there are several types of rank shift as well as the examples. In general, they share a similarity, which is that a clause shifts down to an element of a nominal group. For instance, in the first example, that I borrowed has a clause inside, right? But it works as a qualifier of the nominal group, which adds information to the head of the group, the book. The second example is just the same, okay? In the third example, the underlined part is the subject of the clause, but as you can see, it has a clause inside. I will jump to the last example here. The underlined part is a non-finite clause because the verb is a gerund, and the clause is a qualifier of the subject. All right, that's all we can discuss in this video. I don't see any conclusions made in the slides, so what I can say is thank you for watching this video, and if you find this channel helpful, just like, subscribe, and share, okay? See you in the next video, hopefully. Bye.